But
Yeah, that's the topic I wanted to talk about. Like, what drives people like to improve at chess? Like, how does one get the motivation? I mean, personally, like, I'm not very motivated to actually learn chess and play chess most of the time. But like, I don't know, like sometimes you meet someone and you see them play chess and you're like, oh, that guy's good. Or like, that's interesting. That seems cool. And then you kind of try to copy those players. Yeah, but that's my personal experience with it. But I'm not sure that like most of the people that's gonna start playing chess because of PogChamps, they're gonna stick around and continue to play chess. That's most.
That's a tough
obviously
call.
it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game, obviously,
Yeah.
because no matter how you promote it, there's going to be a bunch of people like, well, this is actually hard. I'm not getting the motivation, and I'm not getting instant feedback, like almost like instant. I'm not getting the instant gratification. But I think that one's obvious. I don't even remember what point I was going to make here.
Well, the motivation to keep going. To me, I would like to think about it as, let's just say, starting a new job that you don't know if you're going to like or not like. Let's think about this. You start on Monday in a job that may be too difficult in some way or another to handle, or you have opposition at work or office politics. And if you can make it past Wednesday, then there's a good chance that you'll make it to payday, right? Because, but many people, I would say, only want to play chess for fun and not for improvement. And I don't blame them for it, honestly. Yeah. But in general, if they are going to make it, they have to make it over hump day. There's like a 50-yard line that you have to make it past an improvement. And I would say that 50-yard line for many people is 1100. As far as whether or not they're going to choose to play chess for fun, or if they're going to try to get better at it. So David was asking how people choose to improve at chess to a great extent.
Yeah,
right.
I remember like last episode, you were speaking about Nakamura, that when he was little, he was at the tournament and. He was always like reading books and always trying to.
Well, that was Carlsen. Yeah, Carlsen. Yeah, was always devouring.
But you had like
books.
Same point.
Oh yeah, but like later on, like Nakamura, when he like grew older, he has a non-stop work. He didn't stop working.
And I think he kept his dedication to the game much better than Magnus Carlsen. Because Magnus Carlsen, of course, has many. I would say that the difficulty for Magnus Carlsen is very different from the difficulty level for Hikaru Nakamura to stay dedicated to his stream. I mean, Nakamura will play other games on his stream. He's not averse to playing other games on his stream, and he will do it.
Usually when he plays those games, he's sponsored by the games, so... It's a different kind of motivation.
Right. Yeah, whereas for Garry Kasparov, let's take someone like Garry Kasparov, for example. When he became world champion, Rona Petrosian came up to him and congratulated him on the happiest and unhappiest day of his life. And he's like, the unhappiest day of my life and the happiest day of my life, what could she possibly mean? Until he woke up the next morning and realized that now that he's accomplished his goal of becoming world champion, where is his motivation to go that much further? Where does he go from here? And his life was over to a certain extent, but obviously it affected Bobby Fischer that way. Rogan?
Oh, there's a well-written scene in the Queen's Gambit, if I'm to quote some wonderful, some wonderful
Walter
media
Tevis.
from the chess. Yes, when Beth Harmon was playing that young talent, whom she beat quite convincingly. When she asked him about his goals, he said, "I'm going to be world champion by 20," and she said, "And then what?"
Right.
you've achieved all you want to achieve, and where's that adrenaline, where's those wonderful, those wonderful brain juices that they give you,
That
that
wasn't Benny,
gratification
though.
to
That
keep
was the
going.
other. Was that Benny or the other fellow? I'm trying to remember
No,
who she said that.
that was that young European player.
Right.
I forget the name, but the point is simple. In my opinion, I think the differences between the people who give up and the people who don't give up is as the people who give up purely have the motivation of fun. People they're in there for the fun. They're in there to be good, and if they accidentally are good, then they do add some different motivations to it. But I think the people who do become better at chess, there's a level of competitiveness that doesn't come into the people who give up right away.
That is correct.
There's a level of obsession, a little,
It's obviously a personality type, possibly, David, and what Rogan just clued me into. I often tell the story, especially to students in my classroom, when they're about to go into a tournament. I remind them that when I started out, I lost every game in my earliest first or second tournament. I lost every single game when I played in my first, let's say, non-scholastic tournament. And I remember thinking that this is it. I'm not giving up. I'm going back for more. I'm going to prove to these guys that I can do it. The same thing happened to me because I was not an exemplary student. Let's just say in the third or fourth grade. I don't remember. I think it was as early as the third or fourth grade when I was not such a great student and in the library. I think it was fourth going into fifth grade, when my teachers told me I wasn't allowed to read Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes compendium of Sherlock Holmes stories. And they said, no, this is above your reading level. And I'm like, what?
Very sad. I mean, that's a great series of book. He's a great author.
Yeah, but not for fourth grade. And I agree that I had to go to the library. Literally, I went to the school library, and those words were not in my school library's dictionary. I needed a bigger dictionary. I had to go downtown to the Metropolitan Downtown Public Library and get into the really huge library book that was in the library to look up these words that I did not know the meaning of. I literally had a list of words and the page numbers that I had to look them up to do the research because it was above my reading level. Now, to what end do I have that type of personality that says, you're not allowed to do this because it's too hard for you? And I go, oh yeah? Oh yeah? I'm going to do it anyway. And I lose all of my games in my earliest tournament. I become a master, and my life profession is teaching and training people in chess. And that's what I do for a living. And all those people that won that tournament probably went on to become gas station attendants. Hopefully they went on to college or university to become doctors or lawyers. But in general, the people that thought they knew how to play chess because they might have won that early tournament versus me, who lost every game, who had a pure passion for it or developed a pure passion for it through adversity. I believe adversity breeds.
So I believe what we're saying here generally is that there's a certain level, which varies with different people, of adversity that needs to be there in order for someone to get better, in order to trigger a competitive, slightly obsessive streak that gives you a different fuel to burn, and not just instant gratification and winning. It gives you a different reason to play on top of pure joy. Because for chess, for me, it's not always pure joy. In fact, I get unusually tilted when I lose to some people when I stream. I do not like losing to some people. There's people out there, and they sure as hell know it, that I do not like losing to.
That's absolutely crazy, Rogan.
That's not joy. That's not joy. That's not joy that's fueling any chess growth from there. That is obsession based from joy. Like that's I guess it's adversity. I'm not sure it is, but it just adds new levels to your reasoning to why you play chess. It's not logical, but it is but it is obviously why some people are good, and and others find hobbies of of a different type.
But David is a fairly decent chess player as well, and I would imagine. I'm sorry.
I could be better.
But we all believe we could be better. I constantly say that I don't know how to play chess. My standard is very low. I hardly ever get upset when I'm playing. I do get perturbed if someone brings it to my attention that they think my opponent isn't necessarily playing fairly, but I don't let that bother me either. I could care less if people are cheating themselves by playing unfairly online. In fact, this morning, I think I lost to Rizev, a young student of a father in Turkey. I have a father-son duo in Turkey that constantly play in our morning training birthday Swisses. And in the first round, I believe I lost a game in, hold on, let me just think. I think I lost the game in 11 or 12 moves. He mated me. And it started with a tactic that I overlooked. And all I did after the game was compliment him on taking advantage of me because I was distracted while setting up my stream. So this didn't actually even occur on stream. It occurred while I was setting up my stream. I think Rogan had just messaged me minutes before to ask me when I was going to be streaming. And I just replied that I'll be on in 5 or 10 minutes. And while I was replying to Rogan and while I was setting up my stream, I am losing to the young whippersnapper. It was my 4th loss to him, I think, or my 3rd loss to him in like 25 or 30 games. He's got like, I think it's 6-1. I'm winning against him like more than 6-1 ratio. So if I could do the math, if he's beaten me 4 times. But needless to say, I complimented him in the chat, and I was very impressed with his diligence. I actually thought that he was going to take a rook, and instead he essayed mate and won. I didn't even see it coming because I wasn't paying attention to the board. And I deserved it. I fully deserved not giving him the proper attention and respect that he was due. And I lost, and he deserved it. So, I mean, to me, chess is a very just world. If you do not play properly, the truth occurs on the chessboard much of the time. If you break the rules of chess and don't activate all of your pieces, you're going to get it.
Truth hurts, as Ben Feingold usually says.
Truth hurts indeed. And Ben tells it like it is. If there are 2 streamers that do not pull any punches, and I am not one of them, I will always pull my punches because I don't necessarily want to hurt anyone's feelings. Chess Coach Andres will let you have it for something and tell you your thought is absolutely ridiculous and then try to correct your thinking properly. And Ben Feingold, they will definitely give you the truth, and they will remind you immediately afterwards that the truth hurts. I love that quote.
About chess improvement, also most people are using the wrong tools or doing things wrong, working not properly working on things. Nowadays you have so many things you can actually choose. You have countless of chess platforms and one kind of gets lost. Going back, I don't know, 10 years ago, there was almost nothing. I think there was Chess Tempo, and pretty much it. I'm not sure.
There was Chess Tempo, and you had the Internet Chess Club with the ability to analyze your games. That was the common platform prior to all the current platforms.
Chess.com, in the
Chess.com came along afterwards, and then the analysis engine.
Puzzles. And nowadays we have I think the best one is Chessable.
Yes. Well, there's no substitute for the personal chess trainer that you are provided, and you have to study every day to keep your streak going.
True.
It has that popular social media effect of you must keep your streak going, and if you're not careful,
gamifying chess in a weird way. It gamifies it to us.
Social mediaizing chess. Yeah, I'm at my 1300th and soon to be 65th day of chess study for the most part.
God.
I've been studying for 1300.
I can't get a streak of 2 days. That's usually what I practice. I usually practice at stupid like hours. Like I'm always 12 hours apart, like or 24 hours apart usually, or it's. I just
And
practice at weird hours, and it just mercilessly decides to go on my on New Zealand time instead of the time zones I actually usually properly keep, which is a bit weird, but that is what it is. But
so
Chess Choken, what
obviously,
am I to take this as you were trying to segue nicely into a Chessable advertisement?
No. I was just, like because we were discussing, is it better to have like a physical book or to have some virtual like Chessable book? And there was that debate. There's some people who prefer the book, and there's some other people who actually like the Chessable version of
well,
it.
I grew up on real books for the most part.
Well, my basic opinion on this is much like the thing that I don't actually believe books are the best way to go about things for absolutely most players on a statistical basis. You have to be decently competent at reading chess notation, which I'm barely competent in. You have to be decently good at trying to surmise what an author is saying. With Chessable, you can get many of the best aspects and most readily available aspects that is better for lesser low-rated players, much easier. I mean, the thing with Chessable is it gives you a very, very physical look. You don't have to set up boards. You don't have to flick through the pages. You don't have. It's really takes a lot of the stress out of easy learning. Now, if you're a master player, this is where my opinion gets slightly more nuanced. If you're a master player, you're like over 1900, and you're very good at visualizing, you're very, very good at understanding chess notation, then the book might be better for you because you have surpassed the point on where it's a pain in the ass to get out a book and try and read stuff, and you will actually be able to, assimilate what the author is trying to say in ways that Chessable just makes easier for people like me and people lower rated than me.
Absolutely.
Also, like Chessable. Sorry.
Go ahead, David.
No, I was just going to say that Chessable also has like video, so you can actually hear. Sometimes it's also helpful.
Yeah, that is a very big aspect to it.
So if we had to pick one aspect of chess improvement that helps everyone, if you could only choose one that you thought would help you the most, would it be solving exercises in the form of calculation, analyzing your own games? So basically it was puzzle solving or tactic study, or analyzing your own games, which is another common one, or going over the games of good players, or another method, watching videos. Which would you choose? I already have my answer.
I think probably.
I'm just curious as to what,
David?
If I had to choose one.
Yeah.
And this will solve the problem here.
David?
Probably analyze my games. I think it's the most important one.
And your strength is 2,000, 21, 22?
I'm around 2,400 on Lichess.
2,400 on Lichess. So you're a better player than me, I believe. 2,400 on Lichess, because I do believe in the Lichess ratings being a little bit relatively comparable to the over-the-board ratings.
Well, there is a saying in chess that I only mildly believe in, that chess is 99% tactics. So bearing that in mind, taking that at a very, very loose, valuing of that saying, I do believe solving puzzles is the best way of going about things. I mean, it's the thing that allows your brain to assimilate patterns, and that is what chess is. Chess is a game of pattern recognition, and the only way you can get these patterns in the most efficient way, in my opinion, is to do puzzles. Going over your games is brilliant and fine, but I think always having, the quickest, having the ability to quickly run through hundreds and hundreds of scenarios in a given day without too much hassle is the best thing for chess.
Excellent. And believe it or not,
could be wrong, of course.
No, I'm happy. No, but you are correct, and Chess Chopin is correct. And now I'm going to give you the other correct answer. Now, the interesting thing is that I know where Rogan's strength is because it's more in the range of where I had expected it to be. I apologize to David for not knowing that he was 2,400 on Lichess. I knew that he was. My current Lichess rating is anywhere from 21 to 2,200. So I thought Chess Chopin, David, was where I was for some reason. And as I apologize, I'd almost gotten him confused in the previous broadcast with the Lichess image of Chess Kudo, who is also about 2,300 as well in the Netherlands. But Rogan, for you, I would say you're absolutely correct. Puzzle solving and calculation and the learning of new tactical patterns, especially endgame patterns, is key. For Chess Chopin, whose ability is higher, it is absolutely in the analysis of your own games. This is what every grandmaster tells you to do. It's what Vinnik tells you to do. And the reason why he's telling players to do that is because they've already assembled a base knowledge of tactics and pattern recognition and grandmaster games. And now you actually have to coordinate from within. Does that make sense, David? You literally have to find where you did not coordinate your pieces, where you did not improve your worst place piece, eliminating your own blind spots. Does that make sense, David?
Mm-hmm.
When you are at a 2,200 to 2,400 level, I absolutely believe that studying your own games in and out is absolutely essential. And this is why when I'm training players, as I am, between 2,000 and 2,450, I think is my highest rated student at the moment, international master trying to become a grandmaster, or women's grandmaster trying to become an international master. They have to analyze their own games, and I'm going to analyze their games with them, and I'm going to ask them what they think, and they're going to tell me what they think, and we're going to compare notes. For Rogan, it is absolutely about that, and I'll tell you, he's right on the money. And I held out a couple of books there because I have on my chess dashboard for Chessable, I have, of course, the Basic Endgames free book by...
And we've done about the same amount there, actually. I think we've done...
Well, I've reset it at one point by Theory Hack. Hack. I reset it before I learned about fast forwarding, unfortunately. Because I had gone through it cover to cover, and I really believe in studying the Basic Endgames by Theory Hack. It's a free book on Chessable. If you know those games, and if you can review those endgames over and over again, it is going to enforce your pattern recognition, improve your chess tactics by Neistat. I have that book in hardcover format, and I never opened it for a long time. And when I have it on Chessable, guess what? As Rogan pointed out, I can carry it anywhere. I can access it. I can do the patterns and improve your chess tactics. I plowed through that book at a rather rapid pace because I thought the book Improve Your Chess Tactics was rather easy. The lovely thing about Improving Your Chess Tactics being very easy by Neistat, it's a new in chess book, is that the categories of theme-based chapters is key. I found the woodpecker method better for a higher level player, let's say trying to become 22 or 2,300, let's say 2,100 rated players to 2,300 rated players. If you are missing a tactic in the woodpecker method, then you will have that one ironed out, because in the woodpecker method, they don't tell you what the theme is. They tell you you should know this, and you should be able to recall that pattern very quickly and efficiently. And being able to do that book of 1,100 exercises as opposed to the 700 exercises and Improve Your Chess Tactics by Neistat is one. In fact, my own book is along the same lines of doing the same thing for beginners, learning and trying to master those basic tactics of pins, forks, and skewers. But I learned from actual hardcover books in the early days, the two Reinfeld books, 1001 Brilliant Ways to Checkmate, and 1001. Every international master and every grandmaster used these books. These have been around since the 1950s. This is what, I remember showing combinations to international master Mark Ginsburg and other strong players. And Mark Ginsburg says to me, all the guy did was pull all of Chernev's combinations from Winning Chess Sacrifices and Combinations and reprint them in his own book. He literally, every book has ripped off these two books. 1001 Brilliant Ways to Checkmate. Now, these are done by Hannon Russell and Chess.
To be fair to them, you can only...
Russell
there's nothing new under the sun.
These are the classical exercises. These classical exercises that are in 1001 Brilliant Ways to Checkmate were done first. Reinfeld was a brilliant author, and he churned out so many books, and he basically gives you thematic puzzles without necessarily specifying the tactics. And he literally gives you the same thing in the other one, like pinning, double attack, discovered checks, removing defenders, interference, and promoting combinations, stuff like that. But interestingly enough, when I was 1800 Roken, in fact, I had a student who was stuck around 16 or 1700. And what he did for me, because I'm going to get my Chess Informant, because I'm sponsored by Chess Informant. Chess Informant Publications had, if I could just mention that they had the original encyclopedia of chess combinations in 8 languages with no English. And in this book are approximately 1,800 combinations. There's a part 1, which is easy, which is the first 900. And now, believe it or not, I had Magnus Carlsen sign the most recent edition, which is the 6th edition of the same book, the Encyclopedia of Chess Combinations, based on themes. And now I believe there are approximately 4,000 exercises in the Encyclopedia of Chess Combinations. And this is available on Chessable.
Almost too many.
Encyclopedia of Chess Combinations. 6th edition. I think it's over 3. It's not quite 4,000 combinations. But these are, obviously, I've got dog ears in it and stuff like that.
They pay him by the tactic.
Yes. But now I'm going to scale it back to the beginner. What does the beginner need to do to become better at chess? And if you've skipped this step, which you may or may not have, then you won't be able to do Chess Chopin's analysis of your own games, because you're basically trying to reinvent the wheel. If you don't know what a car looks like, you won't know to put 4 wheels on a car, basically. Or if you don't know what the wheel looks like, you're going to have to basically reinvent the wheel. You have to know what the wheel looks like, what a good chess game looks like, in order to play a good chess game. So, for example, because we know what a grandmaster game looks like, because we know what high-level chess looks like, because we've seen it. I mean, you've seen high-level chess. You know that your game is not it. I know that my game is not it. My game is not high-level chess. It is a nice level of chess for other people, but I know my game is a high-level chess. So when I was a beginner, and I'm speaking from a relative experience, I go from 0 to 1,800 in the first year. Oh, and we're talking over the board in the days of that. So I basically had a Reinfeld book, The Complete Chess Player, that I convinced my stepmother to buy for me, because on the inside front cover, there was the values of the pieces. I was like, oh my God, what do you mean the bishops and the knights are the same value? What do you mean I can't trade my queen for a knight because the knight is so pesky? I figured the queen versus the knight, right? The knight is, for the beginner, the most complicated piece, certainly the most ferocious and death-defying piece. So therefore, if I traded my queen for the knight, I thought it was a victory when I was a beginner. I distinctly remember this. And when I found out that you can't trade your bishops for pawns, even though they both capture diagonally, right? Pawns are worth 1. What?
These give me hope here, John.
No, I'm serious. So I had my stepmother at the time buy me this book, which was approximately a $25 or $30 book. And we're talking decades ago when that was a lot more money than it is now.
Yeah, that was like $3 billion,
If we do the conversion to today, yeah, it's probably a several $100 book. But I basically made the wager that if I did not beat my cousin Rick by the end of the week, after having tried to devour this book, that I would pay for it out of my allowance. And for some strange reason, I was able to beat my cousin Rick, even though I think he threw the game to me out of my perseverance and dedication. He just knew that I would never give up until he resigned. So I think he faked a checkmate. So getting back to it, yes, Rogue?
$30 in 1960 is the equivalent to $309 today.
1960. I'm only 39 years old.
Yeah. Of course, John.
What about 1984? What about 1984? How much is $30 in 1984 versus today? Let's be a little more realistic. $30 in 1984.
1984, 30 USD to now. Thank you, Google. Okay, $30 in 1984 is equivalent to the purchasing power of $88.
Yes, that was an $88 book. Let's just say it was.
I was thinking that was like, even for a chess book, they might have been a little expensive at $300. I think
it was quite expensive in a way, and it was a hell of a wager. My cousin Rick, God bless him. I imagine is still with us. I've not spoken to him in years or tracked him down, but I should thank him for having this game amongst his collection, with Operation and Stratego and Risk and Monopoly. They didn't have Monopoly Junior back then. But months later, returning from my cousin's house and him having taught me chess, my stepmother had 20 chess books piled up on the kitchen table in the month of May at the end of that school year. And she had picked up these books. This book on it says that this book is $1.95, by the way, in the upper right-hand corner. This is Alekine's Best Games. This was one of them. Alekine's Best Games, 1908 to 1923. So there were 20 books that I devoured over that summer by playing over the games. I've literally played over the games, and these are in descriptive notation. Pawn to king 4, pawn to king 4, knight to king bishop 3, and knight to queen bishop 3. For those of you that don't know what that means, it means that each square had two names.
It means that we've changed our system.
Yeah, because algebra wasn't being used when I learned chess, so you had to use descriptive notation. I had 20 of these books, and I went through them pretty much cover to cover, and I think it took me roughly about a year to go from 0 to 1800. The following summer, I remember I achieved 1800 strength. I remember because it took forever to get the rating reports. You didn't get them on the internet like you do today. It took like 6 to 8 weeks to get the rating report for the tournament you played 2 months ago.
Oh no! I mean that's similar here in New Zealand. I'm still 1319. I'm still a little 1300. Even though I'm beating,
crazy.
17, 1800s, I'm still 1300.
But it takes forever to get the rating up, right?
Yeah.
So I remember going from 1610, I remember, at whatever moment to being 1825 or so, I don't know if it was 1875 or 1825. But I remember I went from this to that when I got back at the end of the summer to find out what I had accomplished. I saw the rating report, and all I'd done was I'd gone over Capablanca's Best Games by Golombek. I'd gone over Alekine's Best Games in 2 volumes from 1908 to 1923 and from 1924 to 1936, I think it was. But literally, Rogan, I used the over-the-board experience, the tactile moving of the pieces, and my compatriot co-teacher, international arbiter and organizer, Sophia Rode. And I do believe that you have to move the pieces in order to have a feel for what you are doing. And you have to actually be on task to a good extent, coordinating those movements to register all of the learning parts of your brain in the early stages. Right. So you have to actually play chess with real pieces to register your memory of what's going on and the powers of the pieces and what they do.
It's like the teachers in school. They say writing stuff down helps you remember it because you're doing several different brain. You're using several different parts of your brain in order to
Absolutely.
establish these patterns. So, well,
Going
we
over
did
real
what-
games
yeah,
to me
before
when you were young
before the
is important.
yeah. Before the show, we had a silly goal of being under an hour, but now that we've given that up, so if
But you
we're
can
going
edit
to
it
put
down.
it down
You
to
cut-
three small things, or three best practices for lower rated players, what would they be? First of all, my three ones would be simply to follow the John Bartholomew advice and say play longer chess games at about 10 minutes or so.
That give you time to think.
Don't play too much. Don't play too many of them. Take your time while you're playing those games, and you go over them, and then do your daily tactics. I think that's the best practice you could ever. I believe that's what I've done so far, and it doesn't seem to be working spectacularly well, but it doesn't seem to be going too badly either. So what would your best practices be? Just,
David?
If we keep it concise and short, actionable advice,
I believe
For the beginning
solving
player.
tactics. Yeah, solving tactics. That's the most important thing to do. And also like working on end games, like simple end games, king and pawn end games, like rook end games. That's also very common. Like that's the basics, I think.
Right.
Was there not a famous player who said start with the end game first? I mean, or something.
Well, the great thing about the end game is that you learn the properties of the pieces working in small pairs, like kings and pawns. Then you add a knight, and you learn the properties of the pieces in the end game. It also helps teach you calculation. Start with the end game first is also a classic Russian method too. You're right, Rogan. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And aside from that, I would say that the beautiful thing that I was segging toward is that Chessable allows you to move the pieces while you are studying, as opposed to studying, let's just say, the Encyclopedia of Chess Combinations from a book where you don't get to proof your answers right away. So the Chess Informant Encyclopedia of Chess Combinations on Chessable allows you to basically interact with the pieces and move the pieces, which is why I like the fact that
so it's active learning versus passive learning, in your opinion.
If you must have active learning, the lower rated you are. You must have interaction with the pieces. You can't watch videos, to be honest with me. But if you are going to watch videos, and I have attempted to do this for several students, I would like you to make a study out of what you are watching. So if you're watching someone go over games, let's say Ivanchuk loves to study games on his stream, and he does stream very diligently games. And I think Jobava also. Badur loves to study games on his stream, and everybody knows that I love to study games on my stream.
And Gada Kamsky also does a great study stream as well.
He does a study stream. Now, the only problem with that watching of a video is that you need the instructor to ask you questions constantly to keep you engaged and involved in the position at hand. So you always have to be trying to find the next move for yourself and comparing the next move that you are choosing with what actually happened in the game. And hopefully you'll be correct. Honestly, if that's enough, I don't know. You have to have, as Rogan succinctly put it, interactive participation in the learning process, no matter what you choose. And Chessable allows you to move the pieces and learn from your mistakes interactively quickly.
Mm.
I know that wasn't
so
very
what
succinct.
we're really saying here is we want a Chessable sponsorship. Come on, Danny, make it happen. But anyway, yes. Sorry, I interrupted something. Go right ahead.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Tonto, not knowing the Lone Ranger was disguised as a door. Let's see. So yeah, I've gone over quite a number of books, as you can see behind me, in my lifetime. I achieved mastery rather quickly, or at least knocked on the door of master status rather quickly. It took me moving to New York City to accomplish it because I needed a higher level of opponent and interactive lessons with my opponents of a higher level at the Manhattan Chess Club back in the days when it was at Carnegie Hall on 57th and 7th Avenue. It's where I got to meet Miguel Najdorf in the elevator. As I pushed number 10, and this kindly old gentleman says, "So you're a chess player, eh?" And then I'm like, I try, you know. And then I watch him go into the club and play amazing games against Grandmaster John Fedorowicz. Fed just engages this gentleman, and Fed is playing the Benko Gambit against Najdorf. And I'm like, who is this fellow that's playing so well? And I look at the profile and I'm like, oh my God, I just rode up in the elevator with Miguel Najdorf. I'm like, what's up with that? Like, how often can you get that in any other chess club in any other country on average? Basically, in New York City, you can run into celebrities on the street and celebrities in your chess club. But you have to show up. You have to show up, and you have to put in the time and the effort interactively by playing chess.
What is the player that inspired you most? Or
What's
players?
That?
What are the players that inspired you most to play?
Obviously, I have an affinity for Alekhine. I think the dynamics of Alekhine as opposed to Capablanca, to me, Capablanca was so straightforward and logical. I originally learned from Fischer because I was raised to a certain extent in the post-Fischer boom. So I played E4, the King's Indian, played the Ruy Lopez, and I played the Najdorf when I was very young. I didn't know any better.
At 39 years old, he was. Yeah, it was
the moment
after the Fischer boom.
The moment I quit playing E4, believe it or not, in order to become a master, I had to stop playing openings that I knew. The moment I stopped playing the openings that I knew, I could actually look at the chessboard and see what was going on. I could find the best moves without knowing any opening theory. That was the most enlightening thing about becoming a master, is knowing that if I want to control the center, if I want to activate my pieces, if I want to be aware of my king safety, I should not be playing the move that I've memorized from Kasparov, Nigel Short in the Sozin variation from the 93 World Championship. I should not be playing their moves. I should be playing my moves. So the thing that surprised me, the player that inspired me the most, I guess, in retrospect, was Alekhine, because he broke the rules. He would have isolated pawn. He would have 4 isolated pawn islands, and everybody else would tell you this is a terrible endgame. But he would slice and dice his opponent with the open files and diagonals because he had piece activity, and I love that. I absolutely love that. Lasker was also an early inspiration because he didn't have to play the best move to beat his opponent. He thought of chess as a struggle. I don't know if Rogan studied enough world champions.
No, unfortunately, my only world champion studies have been because I've been watching John study them. I mean, it's like my vitamin of the month. And I can sit there. But what I did take from what you were saying there is that learning the principles over the moves that you've got memorized is a better practice to go ahead with, and Alekhine helped you do that.
Alekhine definitely let me do that. He helped me think that the rules weren't meant to be there as much as once I knew the rules and he's going to break them, then I can also do that if I chose to do it, if I had an idea of my own.
Electively break. Yeah.
Yeah. Electively taking that chance, taking that. And you, David, the player that influenced you the most?
Yeah. Well, I do have two segments of my chess journey. So in the beginning, I was mainly trying I was heavily influenced by Peter Svidler. And So Pico Guramishvili, because like I was constantly watching Chess24 like broadcasts and like shows. So that was my before like Twitch stuff. So yeah, that was that. And then I kind of stopped playing chess. And then in 2020, like with the Corona lockdown, I started playing chess again. And
Excellent.
Yeah, I was heavily influenced by a Gulepap, which is a Hungarian grandmaster.
Gyula Pop, yes.
Yeah,
I believe he trains Angelica Valkova, aka
Yes.
Chessborn.
Mm-hmm. And then
they wrote a book on Chessable together on a dynamic D4 repertoire.
No, it's a D4 for ambitious chess improvers,
D4,
I think.
yes, for ambitious chess improvers.
It's pretty good course on Chessable.
Do you have that book?
I have the free version, but yeah, it's pretty good.
I have the free version as well. I'm going to get the. I haven't sampled it enough to get the real version, but.
And I didn't play D4 actually. This. I swear this is not an advertisement, but I didn't play D4 until then, and then I started playing 1D4 after I seen the course, and it did pretty well. So, but yeah, and so, I also two persons that also like drive me to actually learn chess and start to actually learn chess again back in 2020 was Jesse February and
yes,
and Ruben Salimo, which is also a chess coach from South Africa. So I met.
Who is the second one again?
Ruben Salimo. I met him through Jesse, and he is amazing. He's a really awesome person. Like both of them are, but yeah.
I admire Jessie February a lot.
I played Jessie February once. I played her once, and I got a decent position, I thought, and then I tactically blundered, and then I hate myself. I hated myself for days after.
Well, your emotion
think about
on losing, your emotion on losing is quite stunning to me, Rogan. I'm able to laugh it off and move on to the next game, and you hate yourself for days over a game. I was on AK and Nemsko's stream, and we played a Warhol variation, Ruy Lopez. I was white, and ultimately I should have had a draw. Similar story to Rogan's. I should have had a draw, but then she set up a skewer with her dark squared bishop in the end game that more or less ruined my position, and ever since then I've called it the dark squared bishop, given her long black hair, the Nemo knife. So I got Nemo knifed, unfortunately, by her in an endgame where we only had two pieces. I had a knight, she had a bishop. She only had one piece I had to watch out for. That was my job. I had one job to look out for that bishop. And I didn't do my job.
This is actually an advertisement.
It is. AK and Nemsko is quite the enthusiastic and awesome streamer to watch for a variety of reasons, because she puts you can actually her passion for chess is infectious. At the same time,
wasn't this over the board in one of those chess squares that you played her?
Yeah, in Union Square, we played over the board, and I was able to go back and watch the stream, and as I'm bantering with her throughout the game, it was quite lovely because the chat is going, "This guy is quite good. Who is this guy? This guy can actually play." It was very kind to read all of the people in the chat, and people in the chat who knew me were saying, "Oh, that's Master Chess Dojo. He's also a streamer." There were a few people that pointed me out. And then, of course, I had to blunder it, as Rogan said, at the end, in front of a cast of thousands of viewers. And I didn't think anything of it. I went on to my chess, celebrating women in chess dinner later that evening with Sunil Weramantri, who had invited me to this dinner in Brooklyn. And Sunil was a great host for that thing. But because they were celebrating women in chess, I had an open invitation for Nemo to come if she wished to that dinner later that evening. I don't necessarily know how she interpreted that, but obviously she had other plans. But as far as women in chess were concerned, Sunil Weramantri has always been a big believer in trying to accommodate all parts of the chess world, as he's a very active member of the U.S. chess committees on in many ways. Meanwhile,
back at the ranch,
Tonto, not knowing the Lone Ranger was disguised. So here we are. Basically, the upshot is that if you're not studying chess in a way that complements you at your level, is what I'm saying. I'm only saying that you can analyze your game in a cursory glance of the engine, where you can review your mistakes on Lichess and chess.com. And you can have those glaring tactical errors pointed out by the quick analysis. But an intensive analysis of your game at a higher level will reward you more than it will at a lower level, honestly, because inherently, I just don't think you know what the pieces are supposed to do while they're being coordinated. Whereas going over enough master games, this was also Jack Collins. For those of you who don't know, Jack Collins was the original chess coach for Bobby Fischer when he was younger. I'm not talking about the youngest of his coaches, but who taught him the moves. But Jack Collins taught many of the American youth, Bill Lombardi, Salvatierra, Bobby Fischer, to name a few. And his method was to study 100 games of every world champion, literally going over their games and absorbing those patterns of what good chess is supposed to look like. And then the patterns will be ingrained with you of a beginning, a middle, and an end. Let's take it back to a toddler. Let's take my grandson, for example. You read to your grandson, you don't expect him to actually write the short stories before he knows what a short story is supposed to look like. We're basically asking chess players to write short stories and then go back and analyze how that story came out without ever having been read 101 short stories in the form of children's books. So once they know how the story unfolds, you've got the beginning where you introduce the characters and get everybody into the scene. Then you have a problem that you need to overcome. And then you have to come to a conclusion on how to overcome that problem and get to a happy ending of the book. And you see this over and over and over again for 100 games by a world champion. I usually recommend Capablanca, Paul Morphy. You see how this works from beginning to middle to end, from beginning to middle to end. And then you'll know how to write your own story in chess successfully. But we would never ask young adults of any manner just to start writing and then having them and then analyze what they did. Oh, you left out this guy. You talked about Jim in the opening, but then you never used Jim again in the rest of the story. It's almost the same thing. You actually have to know what a good story looks like before you can start to ask someone to write it and set about
very,
solving
very
those
true.
problems. So we learn by watching and learning.
And while we're still here and talking about chess improvement, I think it might be interesting, maybe as a thing to round off. I don't know whether what our goals generally is, what our general chess goals are. For instance, my chess goals varying very much from John's. My chess goals generally go towards getting to 1900 rapid, and then maybe trying to get better at not being flagged to death. Yeah, and I know that John has some very, very, very high level goals of his own. And if he wants to tell us about it, that'd make a nice little I don't know how narrative. That's how what it would make. So,
it's definitely good to set goals for yourself of a level. And actually, I heard this recently, especially as opposed to the competition that you face. And you also mentioned, Rogan, earlier in the summary of what we needed to motivate us, that we need a certain amount of adversity to challenge us. So you have to set short-term goals and long-term goals. whether or not I hope to become a FIDE master, or if I would hope to become a better player of an even stronger nature, I would definitely coin Yasser Seirawan. Basically, if I can almost generate a Yasser Seirawan impression here, which hopefully should remain relatively free of objective criticism. In my day, no one ever wanted to become a grandmaster. All of the young players today want to become grandmasters. I don't understand what the point of becoming a grandmaster is when being a grandmaster and $2.75 will get you on the subway. It is of no value whatsoever. When I was young, we all wanted to be world champions. Becoming a grandmaster just happened. None of us actually wanted to be grandmasters. We wanted to be world champions. Almost every one of my peers and myself, we just became grandmasters. That was just a normal, everyday thing that happened. It never occurred to us to want to be grandmasters when we could actually aspire to become world champions like Bobby. We all wanted to be Bobby. And so the upshot of it is, I apologize for that terrible Yasser impression.
Oh no!
But in general,
I love Yasser.
Aim higher. Aim higher. If you want to shoot for the moon, you will certainly be orbiting the Earth. But if your goal is to orbit the Earth, you may struggle for a lifetime to get out of our atmosphere.
Aim high, and and then maybe you land a bit higher than you would if you'd aimed low.
If you aim low,
good advice.
You will unfortunately, but this doesn't mean that you shouldn't have goals that are reachable.
Yeah,
obviously there should be some short-term goals that are reachable. They shouldn't be such great.
I do believe Chess Chopin did want to say something about it, maybe his own chess goals, and then we might round off the stream with some thank yous and maybe a good old PSA. And yeah, it sounds beautiful. Oh, by the way, I love Yasser Seirawan. He speaks like he's constantly surprised at everything that he's ever seen. He's astounded,
And we both come from a generation of storytellers. It's not just me. I know you like my stories. I love Yasser stories. Everyone loves Yasser stories. But there are guys out there that from our generation, that is what we grew up on. The storytelling of chess, the nature of the human element in our accomplishments and learning of chess. David?
Well, as far as goals, chess related, at some point I would like to get to 2,500 only chess, but I don't know, I was in a 3 years break from actually playing chess and just come back in April, and I was 2,300, and I worked a little bit for 3 weeks, and I got to 2,400, and I was like, okay, nice. So I'm still settling in. But yeah, there's a lot of things that need to be improved. So
I'll lay you a small wager that if you were to study Kalenchenko, David,
if I don't even know how to write that name.
Kalenchenko, he writes 2 very good books. He wrote a book on Fabiano Caruana, which is absolutely priceless. But for you, I would study Ivanchuk's 100 Selected Games. If you want to reach 2,500, David, I'm going to lay this challenge down to you right now. If you were to study Kalenchenko's notes to Ivanchuk's 100 Selected Games, and I'm putting Ivanchuk up there as a bit on the pedestal because he is the modern day Alekhine. For your level, if you were to study Ivanchuk's games and dissect his creative methods and absorb his approach, because he doesn't play just one opening either. He plays both E4 and D4, as you mentioned you like to do. And he has a variety of openings. You never know what day of the week. As Peter's Fiddler once said, when you are playing Ivanchuk the next day, you don't have to prepare for the game. You have a day off. Because there's no way of knowing what's going to be on that board on the next day when you play Ivanchuk. He will put you in a world you never knew that you were going to be in.
There's some amazing Ivanchuk stories. There's some amazing Ivanchuk stories when he was just starting out. He was playing a grandmaster at, I think, one of the bigger Russian tournaments, and somebody came by. They was playing a grandmaster. They'd met up and they was playing this grandmaster. And the guy went away, and he said, "Well, he came back and asked what's the score," and the guy was like 7, and he said, "7 what?" And he said, he's got me 7 to, he'd beaten a grandmaster 7-0 when he was barely an IM and a relatively unknown. I mean, I think that was a Peter's Fiddler story that I heard somewhere. But yes, I mean, Ivanchuk is clearly an animal. So, I hate to sound like I cut everybody off here, but, it is... I do believe Chess Chopin needs to go somewhere. So we got a couple of points before we do go. Master Chess Dojo has a book. Now, I don't know if that book's available to the public. Is it available to the public, John?
My Chessable books are not yet available to the public, no.
Okay, they will.
I've shared them with my students. Rogan does have a copy on Chessable because I shared them with him early on because Chessable gave me and has sponsored me in the past by providing me with a number of books for free. Not unlike how Chess Informant has sponsored me in the past by currently they send me all sorts of limited editions and books that I use on stream. Chess Informant has been the journal of learning for all of the world's grandmasters up until to this day from the Petrosian era. Tigran Petrosian actually called everyone who learns from the databases informant children. Basically, informant started the database revolution. And my books are not available. I noticed the 3XK, by the way. The 3XK was studying Chessable on his stream. Yes. And he was studying his own opening variations, which he created in his own opening books.
All right. You can make your own books on Chessable.
You can make your own books on Chessable. You can create your own opening repertoires on Chessable using an opening tree that's available on Chessable. So literally you can map out your own opening repertoire using Chessable, and you can save it and try to recall all of your own opening variations. And I would highly recommend this to anyone who wants their rating to stay the same. If you study opening variations over and over and over again, I guarantee you that your strength will be solidly right there wherever it is. You will not have to worry about ever losing rating points. But
well, I do believe I'm being attacked, but that's okay.
No, you're not being attacked. Everyone who studied opening variations, I would recommend this like studying the fire exits to your school exits. But it's not getting out of the building that you need to be worried about. It's actually being able to get safely home from the exit doors. Getting home is what you have to know. Navigating the streets of New York, let's just say, on your own, without knowing where you are. Let's say we drop you in a city. This is also the famous IQ equivalent. Basically, if you were to be dropped in a foreign city, would you be able to find your way on your own? And that was the definition when I was young of someone who has a certain intelligence quotient to be able to figure things out and get from here to there. And in chess, it's about getting to checkmate, not about getting your pieces set up in the open.
Yes, okay, but there is we do know for something for sure. The Master Chess Dojo Twitch stream is available to the public, and this is what I've been trying to say for the last 5 minutes.
On YouTube,
it is available to the public. So check him out at Master Chess Dojo, capital for on each of those words, no spaces. He streams every single day and more on Saturdays and Sundays. And he's got a daily diligent training where There's tournaments of people that you'll get to know the styles of. You'll be able to play people of your rating, of a higher rating, and of a lower rating. So that should help you immensely in your chess journey. And I also stream, shameless self-plug here, but I also stream on Twitch also at King/Sloan. Same deal, no spaces, capital in each of the words. And you can check either side at your leisure, hopefully, maybe, if you want to. So, any last thoughts here, Chess Chopin, as we get out of this? Do you have any plugs? Because we're not sponsored yet by Chessable, but we soon will be, hopefully.
No, well, I occasionally stream also on Twitch on Chess.
I thought
Chopin.
so.
Yeah.
Chess Chopin, Chopin, all one word. Chess
and
Chopin.
On SoundCloud, I have a bunch of songs, and I will post more this summer. So we'll see.
Coming soon.
On SoundCloud, are you also Chess Chopin, or are you David?
No,
Very
Chess
good.
Chopin. Yeah.
I'm going to look for you, sir. Now that I know that you've done our lovely intro music.
Okay.
I did not realize you were also a composer, not just a musician.
And thank you all for watching. The persons who are still here.
Any comments and feedback, please do try and get hold of us. We do care. And if people enjoy longer form podcasts, I will edit to do that. And if people enjoy shorter stories and more on topic stuff, please also do tell us. Feedback is quite important. We are new to this. Please forgive us for any irregularities. So on that note, I thank you all for listening. Have the greatest day you can have. And God bless. And,
Have a good night and a pleasant tomorrow.
Night.